Welcome to episode 19 of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a truly fascinating, sometimes bewildering, but ultimately incredibly rewarding stretch of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, specifically pages 63 to 66. This particular segment is, it's a dense tapestry. It's woven with drunken excuses, sudden awakenings, an unexpected cinematic interlude, and even a surprising, almost cynical moral at the end.
It really covers a lot of ground.
It does, and you've given us some truly rich sources that peel back layer after layer of Joyce's, linguistic acrobatics, his deep historical allusions, and the subtle character revelations hidden in the text.
That's the goal.
So our mission today, you might say, is to try and cut through that wonderfully dense fog of the wake.
If we can.
And pull out those vital nuggets of insight that illuminate this complex, dreamlike narrative. We want you, the listener, to walk away not just understanding what Joyce is doing, but maybe why it matters.
Indeed, these pages are, they're a real masterclass in Joyce's multi-layered narrative style, meaning it isn't just stated outright.
No, never with Joyce.
Exactly. It accrues through this astonishing interplay of sound, history, myth, and, psychology. What we encounter, on the surface anyway, is seemingly an account.
Okay.
Or maybe more accurately, a series of self-serving, increasingly elaborate excuses from a central figure.
HCE, presumably.
Likely HCE, yes, or some version of him.
Yeah.
It's all regarding a rather, let's say, undignified incident at a gate.
Ah, the gate incident.
But as we'll quickly discover, this apparently mundane event just rapidly expands, becomes a profound critique of historical narratives,
right,
a satirical look at societal norms, human folly, and even, as you mentioned, an early, almost experimental cinematic experience embedded right in the novel.
Wow. So we're going to dive into the motivations behind these excuses.
We are, and trace the unexpected connections Joyce draws across time and culture, and really try to appreciate the sheer audacity and brilliance of the language he uses to create this bewildering but ultimately brilliant tapestry.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting right from the start. We're immediately confronted with the alleged assailant, who, many scholars see as HCE himself, offering this parasyiloquisingly true-toned explanation.
That's quite a mouthful.
It is. For his actions. Now, that word, it isn't just about someone talking to themselves, is it? Our sources say it suggests something deeper.
It does. It suggests a deep sort of self-absorbed monologue, a kind of internal justification. In his own mind, he might feel he's speaking the absolute truth. But, and this is absolutely crucial for the Wake, the events he's recounting are probably as far from objective reality as you can get.
Right. It's a classic Joycean setup. Unreliable narration right out of the gate, you could say.
Precisely. It forces us to question the very nature of truth and perception. What's the core paradox Joyce is setting up for us right at the start of HCE's account with a term like that?
Yeah, what's the effect?
Well, that's a fantastic observation, because it immediately sets the tone for the entire Wake. Parasyiloquisingly true-toned isn't just a linguistic flourish. It's a profound statement about subjective reality.
So he believes his own story.
He believes his own story, however outlandish it sounds to us. Joyce is, from the very first word here, immersing us in a dream logic, a world where personal truth just overrides objective fact.
Right.
It forces us, the readers, to become detectives, sifting through layers of self-deception and misdirection. This deep dive into a character's internal, distorted truth is really a hallmark of the Wake.
Suggesting that maybe all big narratives, historical, personal, even legal, are often just highly convincing soliloquies.
That's a great way to put it. It's almost as if HCE is rehearsing his defense for some unseen jury, not necessarily to convince them, but maybe just to fully convince himself.
Okay, so what's his initial classic excuse for being found causing this disturbance at the gate?
Well, he confesses, or rather claims, he had a lot too much hangest or hush you find to drink.
A standard drunk excuse.
Pretty much. But he doesn't just say he was drunk. He then states he was muttering Irish. Now, this isn't straightforward.
No. What's the nuance here? Our sources flag this one.
Yeah, for anyone unfamiliar, it's not simply speaking the Irish language. This is a deeply loaded phrase. Murthering Irish.
Oh.
It's a 19th century anti-Irish slur, a derogatory term linking Irish people to violence, and a specific, often ridiculed pronunciation of the word murder,
Wow. So even in his supposed drunken confession, there's this profoundly derogatory undertone.
Yeah.
Like a self-caricature.
Exactly, or an internalization of prejudice. Why do you think Joyce chose such a specific, even offensive phrase right at the beginning of HCE's story?
Good question. What's the effect?
Well, it's a crucial detail because it injects immediate social and political commentary. Joyce isn't just depicting drunkenness. He's showing us the complex layers of identity and internalized prejudice in Ireland at the time.
So HCE is using the slur against himself almost.
Or performing it. By having HCE use murthering Irish, he's tapping into those societal stereotypes, the derogatory ways the Irish were often portrayed, particularly in British popular culture.
Right.
It implies HCE, or the character speaking, isn't just drunk, but perhaps acting out a stereotype, or even consciously adopting a persona he knows will be seen in a certain negative light.
So it complicates his excuse right away.
Immensely. Is he genuinely owning up, or is he leaning into a convenient, if demeaning, stereotype to maybe deflect from something worse?
That duality. Typical Joyce.
It is, where a character's actions can be read on multiple, often conflicting levels. It's central to the Wake's exploration of identity. It forces us to ask how much of our public persona is just a performance of what others expect, even the negative expectations.
Yes.
And where did this monumental drinking spree supposedly take place? He then lists an incredible number of 18th century Dublin pubs and inns.
An amazing list.
It really paints a vivid picture of the city's bustling, often boozy social landscape.
Yeah.
We're talking the House of Blazes on Aston's Quay, the Parrot in Hell, the Orange Tree in Castle Street.
The Glib, the Sun, the Holy Lamb, and the Old Corn Market.
It's not just a random list, is it? It's like a whirlwind pub crawl through Dublin's past. It anchors this fantastical narrative in concrete historical details.
It does.
What's the effect of this sudden burst of specific, almost encyclopedic historical detail in such an otherwise dreamlike text?
Well, it's masterful, really. On one hand, it roots the dream narrative firmly in the tangible reality of Dublin. Joyce, ever the cartographer of his city.
Always mapping Dublin.
Always. He's giving us real historical texture, reminding us that even the most fantastical events in the Wake are deeply embedded in the specifics of Dublin's geography and history. These aren't just names, they're echoes of real places.
Places where people met, gossiped, drank.
Exactly. And perhaps got into trouble. But on the other hand, the sheer volume of the list just rattled off like that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It exaggerates the spree to an almost absurd degree. It reinforces HCE's unreliable narration. It becomes less about where he actually drank and more about the idea of a monumental, all-encompassing binge.
So hyper-specific details paradoxically make it feel more dreamlike.
In a way, yes. It's a classic Joycean technique. It helps us feel the city's pulse, even as we question the character's account. He even mentions Rammit Down's Ship Hotel.
Which is real.
It is, the Ship Hotel and Tavern on Lower Abbey Street. It appears in Ulysses, too, further blurring the lines between his works, reinforcing this consistent, meticulous Dublin backdrop.
And the timing of this epic drinking spree, it's also quite telling and wonderfully ironic.
He really is.
He claims it lasted since the morning moment he could distinguish a white thread from a black.
Which is a direct reference
To the Muslim Ramadan fast, right? Where dawn and the start of the fast is defined exactly by distinguishing a white thread from a black one.
Precisely. So our character is using a sacred observance of fasting
to mark the start of his drinking. Not the end, not the duration, but the commencement.
It's a deliberate subversion. Adds a rich layer of absurdity and cultural clash. What does this reveal about HCE's character and Joyce's wider commentary on tradition and transgression?
Good question. What's the takeaway?
It's an exquisite piece of characterization and a pointed commentary on hypocrisy and the subversion of sacred rituals. HCE, whether he knows it or not, is drawing upon a deeply religious practice.
And twisting it completely.
Twisting it to serve his own hedonistic narrative. It's a perfect example of how Joyce plays with all forms of authority, religious, historical, social, illid, by juxtaposing them with the everyday, often base realities of human behavior.
So HCE isn't ignorant, maybe just appropriating.
Possibly. Or simply chooses to distort them for his own self-serving purposes. It highlights a recurring theme in the Wake, the blending and often comical clash of different cultures and belief systems, all filtered through the chaotic lens of a dream. It makes you wonder, where do we draw our own lines between respecting tradition and, well, self-indulgence?
And after all this drinking, he concludes his first excuse. He claims he was only falling filth-a-fluthered up against the Gatestone pier.
Filth-a-fluthered. Great word.
Isn't it? Our sources say it means profoundly, utterly drunk, completely gone, akin to pelluthered.
Just totally hammered.
Exactly. And the Gatestone pier is just a sturdy gatepost, so the image is vivid. Someone's so drunk they just collapse against the nearest solid object.
But it doesn't stop there, does he? He has to explain why he fell against it.
Of course he does.
And this is where Joyce takes a mundane detail and just elevates it to brilliant absurdity. It forces us to question perception itself when, you're under the influence.
So what's the explanation this time?
He explains he mistook the gatepost, which, with a cow's bonnet atopoy, he false took for a cattle pillar, with purest, peacealist intentions.
A gatepost with a cow's bonnet, mistaken for a cattle pillar. That sounds completely bizarre.
It does on the surface.
Yeah.
But, as one of our sources points out, a gatepost does sort of resemble a pillar. And in some rural settings, cows were sometimes decorated with bonnets or hats. It happened.
Okay.
So a pillar with a cow's hat on top could, by the Wake's standards of drunken misperception, plausibly be mistaken for a cattle pillar.
And cattle pillar means?
Slang for a soldier.
Ah, a soldier. Okay, that's where it gets truly unsettling, isn't it? What does that misperception, that shift from gatepost to soldier, tell us about HCE's underlying anxieties, maybe a suppressed military past?
That's a fantastic point, because it immediately injects this layer of potential threat into an otherwise, silly scene.
It's not just a mistake.
No, it's a projection from HCE's subconscious. The innocent gatepost transforms, in his drunken mind, into a symbol of authority, a soldier, a cattle pillar.
Suggesting maybe anxiety about confrontation or being watched.
Possibly. Or needing to defend himself. It might hint at a military past or some past indiscretion that makes him feel guarded. Joyce is showing us how the mind, under the influence, can twist reality into something almost recognizable yet utterly nonsensical, where his supposedly peaceablest intentions are suddenly cloaked in this potential for military action or confrontation with authority.
It's like a microdrama of suspicion and self-defense in one convoluted sentence.
Exactly.
Now, if that first excuse wasn't elaborate enough, his second one, it's even more so.
He keeps digging.
He hobbles a pseudo-Jocax explanation, which our sources define as a fake joking explanation.
Right, Jocax suggesting jocose, joking.
And what's this explanation? He claims he was a process server, basically, a sheriff's officer serving summonses.
Another official-sounding role.
But what's really intriguing is that Wocax itself, as scholarship reveals, was apparently a nickname for Joyce himself at university.
Oh, really?
Yeah, presumably from his surname and the Latin Jocax, meaning joking. This detail adds this wonderful layer of self-referential humor, doesn't it? Making HCE's excuse feel even more disingenuous, almost a wink from the author.
That's an excellent catch, that self-referential humor. It's Joyce both inserting himself playfully into the narrative and, at the same time, undermining the credibility of HCE's account.
Right.
By linking HCE's joking explanation to his own youthful nickname for being jocose, Joyce is basically saying, look, don't take this too seriously. It's all part of the performance.
It reminds me of how news reports sometimes say, according to his own story.
Exactly. We even see a striking parallel in a real document, the Laborer Shot article in the Freeman's Journal, where it begins, according to his own story, Furlong was armed. That phrasing immediately casts doubt, just like HCE's Pseudo-Jocax explanation. It highlights how personal narratives are often carefully constructed, especially when self-interest is involved. Everyone's their own spin doctor.
So how does the supposed process server claim he was carrying out his duties?
He says he was merely trying to open Zozimus, a botlop stube, by Morshially hammering his magnum bonum against the bludgy gate.
Okay, let's meticulously unpack this because it's absolutely packed with meaning, puns, subtext.
It really is.
First, Zozimus refers to Michael Moran, right? An early 19th century Dublin street singer and poet. Adds that local Dublin flavor.
Yes, great local detail.
And botlop stube is clearly a bottle of stout, easy enough.
So far, so good.
But then Morshially hammering. This phrase seems to carry multiple resonant meanings.
It's incredibly dense. Morshially hammering links directly to martially, suggesting a soldier-like strike.
Which reinforces that earlier cattle pillar image.
Exactly, and HCE's potential military anxieties. It's also echoed by martello, the Italian word for hammer. But it sounds like mortally.
Suggesting a savage, intense, almost deadly blow.
Precisely. So what sounds like a simple act is immediately imbued with violence and military precision. And then there's magnum bonum.
This is brilliant.
isn't it? It's Latin for great good, but it's also the name for a 2-quart bottle of wine or spirits.
So he's using a great good, the alcohol itself, to Morshially hammer the gate. The irony is palpable.
Completely. And the act is further described with that parenthesis. The curter the club, the sorer the savage.
Meaning?
It implies the shorter, maybe more brutal the instrument, the more violent and savage the attacker. It paints a picture of aggressive intent disguised as just opening a drink. A stark contrast to, say, the magical open sesame.
So it's a masterclass in how language can conceal and reveal at the same time. This isn't just a bottle, it's potentially a weapon, and the act isn't an accident, but maybe an assault.
That's the strong implication, yes.
So we have the accused, H-E, spinning these increasingly outlandish stories full of drunken logic and elaborate fabrications. But what about the witness?
Ah, yes, the witness.
Joyce then introduces us to Maurice Behan, the boots about the swan. This is a direct reference to Boots at the Swan, a popular 18th century one-act farce. In that play, the character, Jacob Earwig, is deaf and gets into all sorts of trouble. Even impersonates a policeman and thumps loudly on a door after drinking too much.
So that reference immediately sets a comedic, slightly chaotic tone for Behan's character.
Yeah, exactly. It makes his testimony right from the start seem inherently unreliable. It's a brilliant stroke of pre-characterization.
It's Joyce setting up our expectations perfectly. By alluding to Boots at the Swan, he's signaling that we should approach Behan's account with a healthy dose of skepticism. Expect misunderstanding, comic mishap.
It fits the theme of witness testimony in the wake. No single account is definitive, all colored by perception, bias.
Even physical limitations like deafness.
Yeah.
It adds to that ongoing theme of subjective reality.
And Behan's awakening is described with typical Joycean flair for detail. He hastily into his shoes with nothing, his haldbar a tin tack. Now, one of our sources reveals a truly fascinating, almost lost detail here. An earlier version of the text apparently indicated he hastily threw on a pair of old Sir Bunchamon's pants.
Lost by the typesetter.
Yeah, but recovered through scholarly detective work. This lost detail would have vividly shown Behan wearing hand-me-down trousers from his boss.
HCE or Sir Bunchamon.
Exactly. What does this tiny, almost lost detail tell us about Joyce's meticulous hidden layers? The inter-character connections. It feels like a treasure hunt for scholars.
It truly is, and that's exactly why Joyce scholars are so passionate. This particular lost detail, once recovered, is incredibly revealing. It underscores the meticulous, almost obsessive way Joyce wove his narrative web.
Even a discarded pair of pants matters.
It can deepen our understanding of character relationships, social hierarchies. It suggests a direct, almost familial connection between Behan, the boots, and HCE, the master. Indicates dependence, perhaps a shared history.
It humanizes Behan while reinforcing HCE's influence.
Yes. And that phrase, tin-teak, a blend of tin-tack, small nail, and the Irish teen-teach, fiery or lightning, adds this spark of quickness, urgency to his getting dressed. Almost like he's a tiny sharp nail in the household machinery ready to spring into action.
Yeah.
Another example of how every syllable in the wake can contain multitudes.
He came down with hump, stemp, and jump it to the tilt yard from the waist asleep in his obi-thini overclothes. That phrase, wastes asleep.
Very evocative.
It directly echoes Thomas Davis's famous song, The West's Asleep, doesn't it? This isn't just Behan's personal slumber. It instantly links it to a broader, more melancholic Irish historical context, a nation waiting for awakening.
The connection is immediate.
And his obi on the overclothes refers to a Japanese obi, right?
Huh?
A wide belt worn over a kimono. Suggests sort of exotic, maybe ill-fitting sleepwear. What's the impact of layering personal detail with national sentiment and even international cultural references like this?
Well, it's quintessential, Joyce. The juxtaposition is key. Behan, a seemingly insignificant character, is brought in through this personal, almost comical rush.
Right.
Yet his very slumber is immediately given national historical resonance. The West's asleep is a lament for Ireland's dormant spirit. So Behan's personal awakening becomes a microcosm for a potential national awakening. Or maybe a false dawn.
When the obi.
The Obiani overclothes adds another layer, perhaps hinting at the universal nature of sleep and waking, or suggesting a certain displacement in his attire, reflecting the disjointed, dreamlike quality of the wake. It's a reminder that in this text, the personal is always political, the local is always global. Every character carries the weight of history and culture.
Which brings us to the critical question, what actually woke him?
Yes, what was the sound?
Behan claims he was attracted by the Norse of guns playing Delandy as Carbiger on the Raglar Rock to Dublin. This single phrase is just a whirlwind of allusions, perfectly reflecting a chaotic, overwhelming sound.
It's incredible.
Norse is a playful twist on noise. Okay. But then Delandy's Cardiger throws us into this complex historical and mythological tapestry. What's unfolding here?
That phrase is a phenomenal compression of history and epic conflict. Delandy is Cardiger. Immediately brings to mind Cato's famous Latin declaration, Delenda est Carthago.
Carthage must be destroyed.
Exactly. Not just a political slogan, a relentless call for total destruction, uttered constantly. So the sound isn't just loud, it's imbued with historical imperative, a declaration of war.
And Deland.
Our sources also point to General Deland at Waterloo, further linking the noise to the chaos and destruction of battlefields. This doesn't just make the noise loud, it makes it historically consequential, almost a declaration of war heard in a sleepy Dublin street.
And it doesn't stop with Carthage and Waterloo, does it? The phrase continues on the Raglar Rock to Dublin. What further layers is Joyce adding here?
This is where it truly takes on a cosmic dimension. Raglar Rock to Dublin cleverly combines Ragnar Lodbrok,
the Viking chief who raided Dublin.
The very same, and Ragnarok, the Norse mythological twilight of the gods.
The apocalypse.
A cataclysmic series of events. The death of gods, the world's renewal. So the noise isn't just physical disturbance or historical echo. It's a cosmic historical clamor. The sound of worlds ending and beginning.
Wow. And grounded locally, too.
Yes, it includes Rocky Road to Dublin, the song, and Welsh Dublin, another name for Dublin. So through Behan's highly distorted, almost mythologizing perception, Joyce gives us an entire historical and mythological lens to view this mundane incident.
So what does this tell us about perception itself in the wake? How does it complicate our search for the truth of what happened?
That's a profound point. It suggests truth in the wake isn't singular. It's a kaleidoscopic blend. Personal experience, historical memory, mythic resonance.
This isn't just an awakening. It elevates a drunken brawl to cosmic significance.
Exactly. Joyce isn't just being playful. He's suggesting that even mundane events are interwoven with epic narratives, a microcosm for the cyclical history underpinning the wake. It forces us to ask, how often do we mistake the trivial for the profound, or vice versa, in our own lives?
Good question.
And to punctuate this, Behan claims he was woken by a fourth loud snore out of his land of Bilo. Bilo, the land of lullabies, sleep.
Okay.
But here's the crucial distinction. He then explicitly states this battering babble alour the door and sideposts was not like the bellsy babble of a bottle of booze, which would not rouse him out of slumber deep.
That's incredibly significant. He's so used to pub noises, the babble of booze, that they wouldn't stir him. Echoes cannot lies in slumber deep from the West's awake, right?
Good connection. Yet this particular hammering did wake him.
So the familiar chaos wouldn't stir him, but this noise did. And you mentioned bellsy babble and battering babble. What's the deeper implication of this linguistic play?
This is where Joyce really delves into language itself. Belzebabble is a brilliant play on Beelzebub, the devil.
Right.
And Joyce's own coinage, Belzebabble, for the devil's self-made language. It highlights the chaotic, devilish, and utterly unusual nature of the noise. Sets it apart from everyday drunken commotion.
And battering babble.
That directly links this disturbance to the Tower of Babel. Linguistic confusion, fragmentation of meaning. In the context of Finnegans Wake, where language itself is fractured, layered, constantly reimagined.
This suggests the noise is a primal force of disorientation, breaking down conventional understanding, like the wake itself.
Precisely. A sonic representation of the wake's own polyglot, endlessly interpretable nature. A noise so fundamental it transcends mere drunken din, taps into humanity's oldest stories of misunderstanding. This particular sound isn't just loud, it's disorienting in a profoundly linguistic and historical sense. That's why it cuts through Behan's deep sleep.
So the noise wasn't just a physical assault on the door, it was an assault on meaning itself, forcing Behan and us to reevaluate. And what are the broader resonances? Behan says it reminded him loads more of the Morshially marses of foreign musiciensinstruments or the overthrower to the third last days of Pompery.
An incredibly rich passage. Dense with powerful allusions.
Morshially marses connects to martial law. La Marseillaise! Mars, the god of war. It's music for warfare. Marches. Forceful. Imposing.
It's a grand, theatrical, destructive overture. That's exactly the point, that sense of a grand overture. The noise isn't just a bang. It's almost a ceremonial military display.
Ordered and violent. Disciplined yet destructive.
Exactly. Hints at larger forces beyond just a drunkard at a gate, and then pompery, another exceptionally complex pun.
Combining pomp, potpourri, and Pompeii.
Yes. Referencing Bulwer Lytton's The Last Days of Pompeii, a tale of cataclysmic destruction. But also, as sources explain, it alludes to Pompey the Great.
Thrice elected first consul, 3 triumphs.
Events filled with soldiers, marches, loud martial music. So this noise resonates with ancient Roman military grandeur, the destruction of a city, the pomp of a powerful leader. It evokes historical might, religious tension, impending doom all at once. It's as if the entire history of human conflict and spectacle is contained within this one battering babble.
An astounding compression of history and sound. And this nooningless nocturne, a nocturne, but paradoxically nooningless, without sun, had immediate dramatic effects. Behan describes how the young rain came down desperate, and the old Liffey-potamus started ploughing all over the plains, as mud as she could be. The young rain, lady of the house, queen, pure one, rain.
The flood.
And then the old Liffey-potamus. What a fantastic image.
It's one of Joyce's most iconic coinages, perfectly blending the River Liffey Dublin, the feminine principle, ALP.
Right, the river woman.
With a hippopotamus, a powerful pseudo-ruminant animal that chews its cud. And this cud then becomes ruinating all the butcher shirts and the baker's wishin' tugs.
Butcher shirts, baker's aprons, recalls rub-a-dub-dub, and butcher blue shirts anchors it in everyday life.
Yes, but this isn't just playful. The overflowing muddy water, as sources explain, isn't just literal flood, it's deeply metaphorical.
Okay, what are the deeper, more profound implications of this metaphorical flood?
This leads to the chandelier of the Reggiani Jaili wash, a very dense phrase. It evokes the infamous Dublin by lamplight Magdalen laundry.
An institution for fallen women?
Yes, and associates the overflowing water with washing, purification, maybe even the Virgin Mary. Regina Coeli, Queen of Heaven, also a jail name. So you have a torrent of muddy water that's simultaneously cleansing and ruining.
Symbolizing moral transgression and attempted purification.
Exactly. Connecting personal incident to broader societal and religious themes. Sin, shame, redemption, all through Dublin's institutions. The washerwomen washing the Walters of, the Weltern Walters off. It's not just laundry.
It's the constant washing of history, reputations, moral stains.
An endless cycle. Attempts to clean what can never be truly clean, a central motif in the wake. This powerful imagery links personal scandal to national guilt and the relentless flow of time and memory.
Just one moment. After that cascade of chaos, the excuses, the awakening, the flood, the text gives us this fascinating, almost cinematic pause.
Shifting gears.
Explicitly marked by the synopsis as a command to roll away a film, like the projectionist pausing the main feature to show something else. We get the phrase, "A pinch in time of the ideal musketeers." Echoes "a stitch in time saves 9, doesn't it?
It does.
What's the significance of this proverb appearing here and this sudden shift to the ideal?
It's a brilliant moment of meta-commentary, almost Joyce breaking the fourth wall, winking at us. A stitch in time is about preventing worse problems. Here, it's a pinch in time of the ideal.
A call for reflection, a different perspective.
Perhaps. Before the narrative dives deeper into human flaws, it's a deliberate disruption, a moment where the real world of the film takes over from the real world of the narrative.
And then we hear Alphos, Burkos, and Caramus, a clear Joycian twist on Dumas's 3 musketeers. Athos, Porthos, Aramis.
Right.
They're told to leave Australia for the astrologeries. A fascinating command. Moves us from Australia, with the Southern Cross stars on its flag, to astrologers and even Astrea.
The Greek goddess of justice, who began the constellation Virgo.
Yes. What's the profound shift in perspective being urged here?
This is a powerful call. A shift from earthly to celestial, action to contemplation, known geography to mystical or cosmic realms.
The musketeers, figures of action told to look upwards.
Exactly. To the stars, to justice, to cosmic forces. It's a moment where Joyce invites us to consider larger patterns, astrological influences, divine justice maybe, beyond the immediate, messy human drama.
Like a poetic escape from the sordid gate incident.
A brief foray into the sublime, yes, before we return to the very human, often flawed actions driving the wake. It's asking us to step back, view humanity from a wider, perhaps more critical perspective.
So what does this all mean, this cinematic pause, this command to shift gaze? If we connect it to the bigger picture, it's explicitly breaking the narrative to reveal the medium itself.
Absolutely.
Roll away the real world, the real world, the real world. The repetition isn't just emphasis, it points directly to the film reel, contrasting it with the real world. a command to clear the screen, a meta-commentary. Joyce telling us to recognize the constructed nature of the narrative. Feels very modern.
Incredibly avant-garde. Joyce is actively dismantling the illusion of a seamless narrative, reminding us we're not looking through a transparent window onto reality.
But experiencing a crafted, projected, filmic experience.
Precisely. The repetition of real world hammers home that distinction. Artificial, manufactured reality of film versus the messy, ambiguous real world it claims to represent. Profound self-awareness in the text. Typical Joyce.
Like he's saying, let's put aside HCE for a moment, watch a different story on this new, ephemeral screen.
Setting up an expectation for a different mode of truth. One that's explicitly a construct, a performance.
We're then invited to call all your smoke blushes, Snow White and Rosard, if you will have the real cream. Now for a strawberry frolic. Smoke blushes, rosy cheeks, youth, innocence.
Seems like it.
Snow White and Rosard refers to two folk tales, right? German by Grimm and an Irish one.
Yes, for all your fairy tale names.
And real cream, strawberry frolic, evokes the strawberries and cream complexion. An ideal of youthful beauty for women. It's a moment of idealized femininity, a romantic fairy tale vision starkly contrasted with the grimy reality earlier.
This interlude is bathing us in an almost saccharine, idealized version of youth and beauty. Stark contrast to HCE's drunken antics. It's almost like propaganda film for innocence and romance, right after the sordid underbelly.
But given Joyce, we have to question this ideal. Is it genuine or constructed fantasy?
Exactly. It's setting up the next segment, which will very deliberately play with and then brutally deconstruct these romantic ideals.
And the interlude ends with French colloquialisms hinting at less innocent motives. Filon filouche, cherchons la flamme, femme.
Meaning?
Something like, let's scram, money, let us search for the flame. And cherchons la flamme deliberately echoes, cherchez la femme.
Look for the woman, implying a woman is often the hidden cost.
Precisely. It perfectly sets the stage for what comes next. Suggesting an underlying female influence or a search for passion, the flame, might be the true hidden cause of the problems. Subtle but powerful foreshadowing.
Absolutely. That cherchez la femme allusion is classic. Immediately points us towards female agency, direct or indirect, becoming central. It frames the upcoming film feature, seeking out the hidden female influence, the catalyst.
Transitioning from grand, mythic chaos
to a more intimate, yet equally complicated human drama involving desire, age, attraction. A clear signal the problem is about to be personified.
And indeed, we transition directly from this real-world interlude into what's explicitly described as an old man and two young girls film preceded by some advertisements.
Quite a shift.
It's a stark, almost jarring change in tone, isn't it? From mythical illusions and idealized femininity to something feeling like very modern, almost scandalous social commentary wrapped in narrative. Like switching from an epic poem to a tabloid exposé presented as cinema.
It's an astute observation. Joyce is mirroring the emerging popular culture of his time. Early 20th century saw the rise of cinema, and with it, pervasive advertising, often crass, sensationalist.
So he's embedding this film to comment on societal desires.
Particularly the often unseemly desires of older men for youth and the commercialization of those desires. It feels incredibly modern because it addresses themes still profoundly relevant today.
We're introduced to an ordinary man with that large, big, non-obly head, possibly HCE again, described with a blanco, burbecked facial expression.
A blank, barebacked, contemptible facial expression. No nobly head playing on not forgotten and knobbly, unforgettable yet maybe unattractive.
And this section is peppered with mock advertisements like early cinema. One standout is about Noah Beery, the American film actor.
The ad proclaims, Noah Beery weighed stone 1001 when Hazel was a hen, layered with meaning. Beery was a real actor, grounding the film in contemporary context.
Right.
More importantly, Noah in the Bible, famously the first drunk after the flood.
Connecting back to HCE's excuses.
Immediately. And stone 1001, a wildly exaggerated weight, 14,014 pounds, signifying extreme old age. The 1001 referencing the Arabian Nights, implying a long, storied, maybe decadent past.
So not just physical description, a symbolic weight of experience, perhaps transgression, that HCE carries.
Exactly. This leads directly into a quote from an early 1930s diet pill ad. Now her fat's falling fast. Therefore chat bags, why not yours?
Chat bags.
World War I slang for underclothing. Ad's bodiness, suggesting the ad targets women losing their youthful figure, maybe aging or post-pregnancy, a cynical blend of health, vanity, sexual innuendo in a mock ad.
And the ads continue.
There are 29 sweet reasons why Blossom Time's the best, referencing the operetta Blossom Time, clearly hinting at youth's allure, the desire to hold on to it. Commentary on commercial exploitation of insecurity, especially among women, and the societal premium on youth, which of course fuels the old man and young girls dynamic of the film.
This raises that question about desire and aging. The cultural commentary is quite pointed, isn't it?
Very.
Elders fall for green almonds when they're raised on bruised stone-root ginger, though it winters on their heads as if octamed round their waistbands. That image of older men falling for young things. Vivid, visceral.
Bruised stone-root ginger connects to temperance drinks, implying a life of constraint, maybe regret, yet they still fancy youthful follies. The metaphor. Winter on heads, boldness aging. Autumn round waistbands, middle age spread, striking, poignant.
What does this reveal about Joyce's view of aging, desire, hypocrisy?
It's a beautifully cynical, deeply observational passage. Joyce isn't just describing, he's dissecting the human condition. The bruised stone-root ginger is brilliant. Implies a life that should have been disciplined, maybe puritanical, yet inherent desires remain.
It speaks to hypocrisy.
Of aging men who, having lived a certain way, still succumb to youthful temptations. The imagery of winter on their heads, octamed around their waistbands. Masterful poetic touch, physical decline contrasted with enduring, perhaps desperate desire for spring-like youth.
And if you'd had pains in your hairs?
A colloquial French phrase for a hangover. You wouldn't look so orgerbald, a blend of horrible and bald. Direct link between dissolute living and degraded, unattractive appearance. Joyce relentlessly exposing vanity, often the ridiculousness of such desires.
The subtext here is thick with slang. Critical undertones for this aging protagonist. Collie McCare is on your lump of lead.
Lump of lead, Cockney rhyming slang for head.
Mr. Lear likely includes King Lear, depicting the old man as potentially foolish, maybe dirty in old age. Fallen grandeur.
The powerful reference.
And stow that sweaty fun-yadam simper refers to sweet Fanny Adams, WWI slang for absolutely nothing. Vacuity could also link to FA for field artillery. It's pointed, critical, contempt for the old man's pretensions.
And even hints of sexual innuendo earlier. Mashler's mutton legs getting muscle-bound from being too pulled, suggesting pulling one's leg, but also more explicit meanings given Joyce. This isn't just a film, it's scathing social satire.
It absolutely is. Joyce uses popular slang, literary allusions for a deeply unflattering portrait. The Lear reference is powerful. Lear and madness and old age becomes folly and pathos. Associating the old man with Lear suggests similar decline, loss of wisdom, descent into desperate, undignified state.
And the slang, like sweet Fanny Adams, strips away pretense. Exposes emptiness, superficiality of his advances. Harsh, unforgiving critique of an aging man's misguided attempts at youthful romance. Highlights sheer vulgarity beneath the veneer of desire. A reminder that beneath the grand pronouncements there's sharp, often cynical wit, skewering human pretensions.
The film feature itself begins, seemingly romantic yet immediately suspicious. Take an old geezer who calls on his skirt.
Geezer for elderly fellow, skirt for woman, slang sets the tone.
He vows her to be his honey lamb, promises papa pals, good times way down west and a guaranteed happy love nest. This romantic fantasy, almost cliched, set to the songs like Way Down East, melodrama about sham marriage, and the Young May Moon. What kind of emotional landscape is Joyce sketching here? Idyllic yet hollow.
It's a masterclass in feigned sentimentality.
Rip.
The guaranteed happy love nest immediately raises a red flag. Nothing in the wake is guaranteed, especially happiness. The imagery, twit twinkle all the night, combing the comet's tail upright and shooting pop guns at the stars, evokes childish playfulness, naive romance like a lullaby. But pop guns are toys, not real, and love nest echoes that 1921 song In My Tippy Canoe, hinting at instability.
So it's a performance, not genuine affection.
Feels like it. A romantic fantasy that feels thin. A facade for something much more transactional, less innocent. Joyce showing the gap between idealized romantic narratives and messy reality, especially with unequal power dynamics. The whole scene feels like a desperate attempt to conjure romance where there's only underlying desperation.
But this idyllic, superficial picture is immediately undercut by the woman's practicality. Cynicism, even.
She sees right through it.
She responds, cream puffs all to dime, which our sources explain as WWI slang for shell bursts or all the time. Her demand isn't for romance, but immediate gratification. Hard currency.
Exactly, she continues. Every nice Missy Mackenzie's. Sources explain Miss Mackenzie as a trollop novel, featuring an unattractive spinster choosing between 3 suitors.
Like the woman here choosing between Artie, Bert, or possibly Charlie Chance, portrays her as Calculating, not sentimental. Assessing options, negotiating her price.
Precisely. Her response cuts through the saccharine romance like a knife. Cream puffs, all to dime. She sees through empty promises, grounded in harsh reality where material gain is paramount. The Miss Mackenzie illusion is insightful, a character making a pragmatic choice. This woman isn't swayed by flowery words. She's evaluating Grumpypar's offerings against others.
Stark illustration of transactional relationships. Cynical view where economic security trumps emotion.
A very pointed social commentary on the commodification of affection.
The sugar daddy's dilemma then becomes crystal clear. She dismisses him. For dear old Grumpypar, he's gone on the razzledar, through gazing and crazing and blazing at the stars.
Grumpypar, grandfather figure, on the razzledar, on a spree, binge, maybe gazing at movie stars or lost in fantasies.
She demands her Peter Robinson trousseau from the London department store, but echoing Robinson Crusoe and cash by return so she can cut a dash, show off.
Wants material goods immediately.
So, Tololo, Mr. Hunker, you're too data for me to dance. Her polite dismissal. Goodbye to an older suitor, Mr. Hunker, linked to Bloom and early Ulysses plans.
Yes, connecting narratives again.
She dismisses him as too data, too fatherly, or too aligned with data absurdism, out of touch. This, she claims, is how half the gels in town has got their bottom drawers.
Meaning their lingerie from a sugar daddy. Highlights a transactional view, a cynical truth about urban life.
That's a brutal, unvarnished assessment of urban relationships, isn't it? Her blunt demands expose the underlying commercial reality.
Completely. The Peter Robinson trousseau and cash not love declarations. The Robinson Crusoe illusion is potent, suggests desire for self-sufficiency, an island paradise via material means, not emotion.
And dismissing Mr. Hunker as too data.
Wonderfully succinct. Signifies not just age, but disconnect from modern sensibilities. Too old-fashioned or too absurd for her pragmatic needs. And that concluding line, half the gels got their bottom drawers, is wonderfully body, cynical generalization. Paints a picture of pervasive transactional culture, older men's desires met by young women's material needs, reduced to simple exchange. Joyce's unflinching look at economic realities of desire.
What's fascinating here is the sugar daddy, Old Grum, isn't quite as naive as she assumes. Text says, but Old Grum, he's not so clean dippy between sweet you and yum.
Yeah.
For someplace on the sly where Furky he isn't by, Old Grum has his gel number 2.
Dippy meaning crazy. He's not entirely gone. And Furfy, WWI's slang for a rumor. So he's trying to keep girl number 2 secret.
Exactly. Hidden from gossip, judgment. This Grumpypar is downright fond of his number 1, but oh, he's fair bashed on Peach's number 2.
Bashed on Peach's number 2. That directly echoes the Peaches and Daddy Browning tabloid scandal of the 1920s.
It does. 16-year-old girl, 51-year-old rich man. A scandalous, real-world parallel to this fictional film's themes.
Perfect example of Joyce drawing from contemporary scandal for immediate resonance. The Browning affair was a sensation, epitomizing the sugar daddy. By referencing it, Joyce taps into the collective consciousness, reminds us these relationships are recurring societal patterns, ripe for fascination and condemnation.
And the secrecy, where Furfy he isn't by.
Highlights the duplicity, fear of exposure, often accompanying illicit affairs. He's juggling desires, navigating social expectations while pursuing gratification. Adds complexity, victim of desires and cunning manipulator. And those two mixers with their cherry bum chavvy.
The two women with their own chap, cherry bums, military slang for soldiers with crimson trousers.
Yes, subtly bringing military undertones even into this domestic scandal.
And the fantasy intensifies into an impossible dream. If he could only canoodle the two, chivi chivu, all three would feel genuinely happy. It's as simple as ADC.
Canoodle meaning fondle. Chivi chivu, WWI slang for celebration.
He imagines them all afloat in a dream lifeboat, hugging 2 by 2 in a Pseudo-Jocax. That imagery, incredibly rich, blends dreamboat, attractive person ideal, with Noah's Ark, entering 2 by 2.
Suggests a fantastical, almost biblical pairing.
And Pseudo-Jocax evokes a crooner's refrain, like Sinatra's doobie-doobie-doo, adds musical, maybe insincere, romantic flourish. What's Joyce telling us about this impossible polymorphous desire?
This is a truly remarkable passage. Encapsulates sheer absurdity, self-delusion of human desire, especially polygamous fantasies. The dream lifeboat, Noah's Ark imagery, brilliant. Suggests attempt to create perfect, contained world for his desires, safe from societal judgment flood.
But clearly unstable. A dream lifeboat likely to capsize.
Seems so. The crooner's refrain adds superficial charm, musical veneer over what's essentially deeply problematic, unrealistic fantasy. highlights desperate attempt to find happiness through arrangement-defined social norms, practical realities. Complex, almost tragic comic portrayal of a man trying to have it all, constructing an entirely unsustainable world.
The climax of this precarious fantasy is beautifully rendered. A toff for thee, missy for me, and how come you so for Farber in his tippy up and down, dippy tip-top tippy canoodle?
Farber, German for dire, but here clearly father, likely ACE himself.
And the whole passage invokes the 1921 song In My Tippy Canoe, chorus. In my tippy canoe loo, you can tippy canoe too, makes the scene unstable, amorous activity, precarious balance.
Absolutely. How kemi you senso, archaic slang for drunk tipsy. The entire fantasy, presented as tippy up and down, jippy, tip-top tippy canoodle, highlights the unstable, almost absurd nature of this imagined menage a trois.
And the segment concludes abruptly with Finny, WWI slang for finis or finish, bringing the cinematic interlude to a close.
It's the perfect ending to such a precarious fantasy. The tippy canoe imagery perfectly captures instability, wobbling, almost comical impossibility. The father figure, HCE, literally tipsy with desire, trying to balance multiple relationships inherently unstably. A moment of profound self-deception, wish fulfillment, desperate attempt to reconcile conflicting desires into harmonious, if incredibly fragile, whole.
And Finney cuts it off, back to harsh reality.
Exactly. Signals end of film feature, perhaps return to messy, unfulfilled desires of the real world. Humorous yet poignant commentary on fleeting nature of such elaborate daydreams, especially when clashing with reality and reputation.
After that wild cinematic ride, scandalous fantasies, advertisements, we hear ack.
The sound effect.
Which sources say is WWI digger dialects for full stop. End of sentence and field telephone message, often signifying 3 to a loaf or 3 of a kind.
Fits perfectly.
Also described as noise of film flapping and applause. Perfect way to end the real world segment. A burst of sound bringing us back after the film stream. And then the text masterfully connects it back to the original incident at the gate.
Bringing us full circle.
With which clap, trap, and sodiment, 3 to a loaf, our mutual friends, the fender and the bottle at the gate, seem to be implicitly in the same bateau, so to singin'. Uses claptrap for insincere language,
right,
and confirms the fender, object by fire, another character, metaphorical defender, and the bottle at the gate from the disturbance are in the same boat. French bateau, implicated together.
Caught up in the same consequences. Shared culpability.
And 3 to a loaf reinforces that motif of threes in the wake, echoing the 2 women and old man, or 3 witnesses, create sense of collective implication.
That's a crucial thematic link. Pulls us back from cinematic interlude to immediate consequences of the gate incident. In the same bateau, beautifully understated way to confirm interconnectedness, shared fate.
Suggests all these characters, elements drunk HCE, observant behan, fender, bottle, are intrinsically linked.
Part of a vast, interconnected web of meaning and consequence. Nothing happens in isolation in the wake, implies collective responsibility or perhaps shared entanglement for the chaos presented.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, this section offers a concise, albeit cynical, moral to the preceding chaos.
A takeaway message.
There is, in fact, no use in putting a tooth in a snipery of that sort. Anglo-Irish phrase meaning you just can't stop a vicious rumor once it starts.
Exactly. A profoundly pessimistic statement about futility of suppressing scandalous information once it's out there. Especially human indiscretion. Almost a warning label for the entire wake.
What's the power of that moral here?
It's incredibly potent. Cynical. Speaks directly to a central concern of the wake. Power of gossip, rumor, public opinion to shape, distort, ultimately define truth. Snipery implies targeted attack, vicious whisper campaign, impossible to counter once launched.
Not just about HCE.
No, about the pervasive nature of scandal, the indelible stain it leaves, regardless of facts. Suggests once a narrative takes hold, especially salacious one, it becomes its own reality, immune to rational rebuttal, deeply resonant observation about human nature, media, even more relevant today.
The text then elaborates on the sheer scale of these transgressions.
It goes broad.
The amount of all the sort of things which has been going on once a day in and twice a day out, every other Nastatag, among all kinds of pernicious individuals at all ages in private homes and rebus publicus and all over, all and elsewhere throughout secular sequence the country over and over abroad has been particularly stupendous.
A wonderfully verbose, overwhelming sentence.
Basically saying day in, day out, once a day in and twice a day out, enormous amount of promiscuous activity, pernicious even breaking down to in favor of the very bad.
Nice catch.
Happening everywhere among all sorts of people, private homes, rebooze, publicus, booze-serving pubs across the country, over abroad. And that phrase, secular sequence.
It is interesting. The phrase in secula seculorum, forever and ever common biblical liturgical phrase,
is brilliantly woven into secular sequence, suggesting an endless cyclical nature to transgressions, constant human failing transcending time, place.
Precisely. A grand, almost cosmic indictment of pervasive human folly, universal in scope. The language itself is a torrent, mirroring the stupendous amount of activity, creates sense of overwhelming, inescapable human frailty, misbehavior. Joyce universalizing the gate incident, expanding it into timeless, global phenomenon. Private indiscretion becomes public, enduring truth.
The segment fittingly ends to be continued, like a serialized story, leaving us hanging.
Cliffhanger.
But then delivers a punchy, defiant final line. Federals United Transports Unions for Exaltations of Triumphant Ecstasies.
Which forms an acronym.
Our sources reveal it forms Futuet, Latin slang translating quite aggressively to fuck you.
Wow.
Bold, aggressive conclusion, hinting at underlying tensions, defiance, rebellious spirit permeating the wake. Almost a final flourish of Joyce's mischievous genius.
It's a phenomenal provocative mic drop, isn't it? After all the excuses, witness accounts, satirical film, cynical moral about rumors, Joyce ends with this raw, aggressive, utterly defiant statement.
The direct challenge.
An act of verbal aggression underscoring the raw, untamed spirit of the wake. Could be contempt from characters, author, even text to reader for daring to pin down elusive meaning. Signals that despite analysis, layers, there's an irreducible, defiant core resisting easy interpretation. Leaves us with unresolved tension, powerful, confrontational energy moving to the next section.
And as if that wasn't enough intrigue, our sources reveal this segues into two major mysteries to be explored further. Keeps us on edge. A certain posted letter and a stolen coffin.
More threads to follow.
What can you tell us about this mysterious letter?
The letter is described as a huge chain envelope, signed yours, a laughable party, to hide-and-cheek, Aidenbury, Dublin, composed in Siamese double talk.
Complex interwoven style, like Stern or Swift.
Hints of those precursors, yes. This letter, crucially attributed to ALP, Anna Livia Pluribel, Riverwoman, Feminine Principle,
Is not yet delivered. It lurks dormant in the paunch of a pillar box.
And another fascinating detail, Anthony Trollope, mentioned earlier with Miss Mackenzie, is often credited with inventing the pillar box.
So, key info, possibly from female protagonist, remains hidden, awaiting discovery. Held captive in mundane but symbolically charged container.
Exactly, a classic MacGuffin. Central plot device promising to unravel more secrets. Symbol of withheld communication, potential revelation, female voice striving to be heard amidst patriarchal chaos.
And the second mystery, the stolen coffin, sounds particularly macabre.
Indeed. Involves a coffin removed from the premises of Oatsman and nephew, initially mistaken for a hand harp.
Why was it removed?
Speculated to be a macabre reminder of death and resurrection. Maybe intended to persuade people home early from revelries, a memento mori. These seemingly disparate elements, excuses, boots, film, moral, letter, coffin, all pieces of a larger puzzle.
Connecting somehow.
As one source suggests, the letter and coffin might connect to conspiracy, blackmail, maybe even ALP's vindication of HCE. A woman's attempt to set the record straight amidst male bluster. We even get glimpses of conflicting testimonies.
Like the town guard and the butcher?
Yes, guard swearing a blue-blouse man kicked the door, butcher challenging him as knee-deep in error. Underscores pervasive ambiguity, constant reframing of events, multiple, often contradictory versions of truth. This ongoing battle of narratives keeps the text alive, endlessly fascinating.
What a dive. We've navigated drunken excuses worthy of court, mythological awakenings merging personal and cosmic, satirical ads skewering vanity, and a film within the text exposing transactional desire.
Quite a journey through just a few pages.
We've seen how Joyce takes a simple gate incident and explodes it into a universe of linguistic play, cultural critique, profound psychological depth. Testament to how mundane events become infinitely complex when you pull their threads, especially through the Wake's kaleidoscope. Every word, pun, allusion opens new vistas.
Indeed. This segment truly highlights how Finnegans Wake encourages us not just to read, but to actively participate in creating meaning. To question every statement, recognize interconnectedness of seemingly unrelated details.
A powerful reminder that every story has countless versions. Every truth is subjective.
And ultimate reality is often a kaleidoscopic blend, never settling into single definitive form. Forces us to engage, interpret, revel in glorious ambiguity.
He hoped this deep dive has given you a richer understanding of these few pages, maybe sparked new appreciation for the boundless layers within Finnegans Wake.
And as you reflect on this, consider this provocative thought. If every excuse contains a grain of twisted truth, and every narrative is merely a performance to convince ourselves or others, what then is the true gate we are always trying to get through in life, and who or what is truly guarding it?